Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you everything that you need to know about using text in Davinci Resolve. So if you've been struggling with fading in and out, animating your text in any other kinds of ways, just even adding text, this video is for you. I'm going to walk you through the whole thing. It's going to be easy as pie. You're going to have it mastered by the end. At the end of this video, I have some things that I want to talk about with you guys because something awesome happened and I want to be able to thank you. But the last time I rambled in front of a video, the comments were not so happy about that. So if you're interested in the announcement and what's going on, I'll see you guys at the end of the video. So without any further ado, let's learn about text. Alright, so in this video about text, we're going to be covering adding text, stylizing text, making text fade in and out, animating text, and some advanced techniques. And to start off, let's add some text because that is the most basic spot that we definitely need to start, otherwise we can't do any of this. What you're going to do to add some text is make sure that your effects library is open. What you're going to do that is come up to your top left corner, click on effects library, and then down here to titles. And then you'll see all these text options, well, title options, but they're all text in some form or another. We're going to drag out a regular text node above our adding text block here. We're going to stretch that out so that it matches our background layer. And then we're going to go ahead and change this text because now this text is on the video. If we play it, it'll say title. That's it. So we're going to change this to say adding text. So when you add text like this, whatever layer is on top is going to show through. So if we took our background and made it our foreground by putting it on top of the text, you're not going to be able to see the text at all unless we use any of these composite modes. So if we do color, you'll be able to see through it. You can play around with those as you see fit, but generally what I like to do is keep my backgrounds beneath my text because generally you want text to show up on top of everything else. So you're going to want to make sure that your text is your top layer, even if you have a couple layers underneath it like this. Now that we've added our text, what's our next step? We're going to stylize it. So I'm going to duplicate this clip by holding Alt while I drag it over onto our stylizing section here. So I'm going to change this to say stylizing. And now that this says stylizing text, I'm going to drag our playhead over so that we can see that it says stylizing text. Also, I've changed the background color to be like a reddish pink so that you can see more of what we're doing with the text here. So what I'm going to do for this is use the inspector panel, and if you don't see that, it's very easy. All you have to do is come up here to the top right, click on inspector, and it will pop up for you. I'm going to walk through each and every single option that you have in the inspector panel in order to give you a full grasp over what you can do with your text. So the first thing here, font family, this is going to be what your text looks like. We're going to go ahead and use Simsun, which is one that I've downloaded from the internet. If you download any fonts from the internet that you want to use in your videos, Davinci Resolve will automatically find them, but if you do it while Resolve is open, you're going to have to restart Resolve in order to actually use that text in your video. So Fontface is going to be like the style of text. So if you want it all to be bold or all to be italic or bold italic, this is where you would do that. And every font, or not every font, but a lot of the fonts that you use are going to have different font faces available to them for your use. So next up, now that we've got our font face is color. This is where you can pick any color you want. If you want to brand your text with like your specific color, the way that you would use a hex code is right here where it says HTML. You would just go ahead and post your 6-digit code right there after that hashtag and press OK. We're going to leave it as this wacky blue color. And then next up is size. You can drag this over. And if you use this slider here, it's kind of like a macro or a coarse adjustment, where if you want it to be a more fine or a micro adjustment, you're going to go ahead and click and hold on the numbers and then drag those, because that moves a lot slower than if you were to use the slider. Or if you want to be really specific, just double click on that number there and then you can do like 115, then hit enter and your text will be the size that you put in there. But just so that it's easily visible, we're going to leave ours a little bit bigger than normal. So tracking, next up here, is going to dictate the amount of space between your words and between your letters. So if you smush those way in, they're going to be all smashed up against each other, and if you bring it way out, they're going to have a lot of space between them. And then we have line spacing, and for this I'm going to go ahead and put these on separate lines so that you can actually see what's happening. And we're going to go ahead and increase that and then decrease that. Line spacing back to normal. We'll get these back on the same line together. Now we're onto font style, and what you can do here is just put lines above, below, through, or above and below. You can add in, I don't remember what that's called, but like super text, where it's like small and above. Or you can make a subtext, which is like small and below. You can change your font case to be all caps, all lowercase, small caps, or title caps. But I'm going to keep mine as mixed so that you can see how I used my shift key to make capital letters. You can change your font alignment, your text alignment, and for this I'm going to put them back on separate lines. So center is going to lock everything to center, to the right is going to lock everything to the right. Or you can do it like this, and then everything you do is going to lock to that left side and work its way down. But we're just going to keep it that standard align left, and we'll put these back on the same line again. And then we have our text anchor, which is going to be where all of your effects on your text happen from. So as you'll see here, we have lower and center. So what's going to happen now is if we change our size, it's going to grow upward instead of just straight get larger. And if we go middle, middle, it's going to do that thing that we all know and love, just grow or shrink right in the same spot. We can go top left, and then it's going to grow whoop, just like that from the top left corner, because now this is our anchor. All of these in combination will make them do different things. So if you have a top left or a bottom right, it'll go like this, but we're going to keep ours center, center, so that nothing crazy happens while we're working with it here. Now is where we get into our keyframeable text options. And what that means is you can change them smoothly over time. So to demonstrate, we'll go ahead and move this over to the left. We'll keyframe it there, and then we'll move ahead using our arrow keys 10 frames. So now we're 10 frames forward, and now we're going to go ahead and move that over to the right, just like that. Now if we go back to the beginning of our clip and hit play, you'll see it move over the course of 10 frames all the way over to that right side. So if we wanted to also change the size while it's doing that, we will go ahead and go back to our previous keyframe using the little arrow next to our create keyframe button, and then we'll keyframe our size here, and then we go back forward to our next keyframe and change our size so that it's wee little tiny text. And then again, go back to the beginning, you watch as it moves over and shrinks at the same time. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of those keyframes, and then we're going to talk about the zoom or the size property. So you'll see this little chain link in between them. If that's highlighted, they'll be linked, so the X and the Y will move together, giving you an even size change. Where if you unlink them by clicking on those links, you can change the X and the Y independently of one another, which can be nice if you want tall text or wide text. And then we have rotation angle, which is going to change the rotation of your text. That is also keyframeable, so if we go back to the beginning here, set a keyframe, and then go forward a few frames, and then change our rotation angle, that'll be automatically keyframed. If you created a keyframe, the second one, you can just move it, and it will automatically keyframe. You don't have to click the little diamond again. So then if we go to the beginning of our clip, hit play, you'll see that it rotates over the time given to the rotation angle specified at the second spot. We'll go ahead and reset that using this. And then we get into the effects section of the inspector panel here. And for this, we're going to start with drop shadow. We're going to leave that black since it is a shadow. That's my favorite way to do it. And then we're going to go ahead and change that offset of the X, which is going to move it side to side. Or you can change the offset of the Y, or you can use both. So what this does is just make a shadow behind your text, which gives it a little bit of a 3D effect and makes it look like there's a light somewhere shining over your text that's putting a shadow onto the background. So say the light was up here, we would want to move that X over a little bit, to show that the light is hitting the text from over here. You can change how hard or soft the edges are on your drop shadow with this slider here. So if you have a low opacity and a high blur, that's going to look really faint and hard to see. And then if you have a low blur and a high opacity, it's going to be like a whole nother set of text that you're just adding to your video. We're going to go ahead and turn that off and move on to stroke. What stroke is going to do is outline the letters of your text so that they are more visible on backgrounds or just for stylization purposes. We're going to change our stroke to be white. We'll go ahead and hit OK right there, and then as I move this slider up, you will see that that outline grows, and it's white around our blue text. So we're going to set that to 2, and we'll leave that there because it's not going to get in the way of anything else coming up. So then we'll go ahead and move on to background. So you can change the color of your background, the outline color of your background, but when you change those things, you're not going to see any changes right away. You're going to need to change your width and your height first. So we're going to change that height so that we can actually see the background that it's talking about here. And then for outline width, you're going to see a border start to grow around the outside of that background. So now if we change those colors, we could do blue, and we could do green. Oh, we can't have them all the way down like that. Blue, purple. And then you can see very clearly what the outline width changes, the height changes, or the width, sorry. And then we have height as well. Corner radius, so you can have really round corners or no corners at all, or you can have 90-degree corners, making this a perfect rectangle. And then you can move the center side to side, up and down using X and Y, and all of these things are keyframeable just like the position and size and rotation. And then we have opacity, which again is how clear the background box is going to be. So all the way clear, can't see it except for the outline. All the way opaque, can see it and can see nothing through it. But if we back that off again, see how it turns purple because the blue and the red are mixing. You're able to see through this a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and turn off that background and move on to fading in and out. We're going to go ahead and take our text clip here, hold Alt again, and drag it on over to our new one. Move our playhead over to the fading in and out section, and I've changed the color of this one as well so that this is easier to see. And if you see these little white tick marks when you hover your mouse over each of these, and actually the ones below, you can drag these over, and that's going to be creating a fade in right there. And if you drag this one over to the left, you'll be creating a fade out. So we go ahead and play that. You'll see it fades in, move to the end, you'll see that it fades out. Pretty easy. The longer you want the fade to be, the further you drag that over, and you'll see this one just takes like a painfully long time to fade in. Ooh, still going. So once it hits this white dot, it's going to be completely blocking anything behind it, but up until that point it's changing its opacity. It's really easy to do, and that's how you would fade in and out of any clip, not just text. So now moving on to animating our text. This is the first time we're not going to duplicate a regular text layer over here. What we're going to do now is come over into our toolbox, click on effects, and then we're going to drag a fusion composition out and pop it right on top of our background. We're going to drag that so that it's the same length, and if you're having trouble doing that, if it's like sliding a little bit past or not quite to it, hit N on your keyboard or click on this little magnet right here. That'll turn on snapping, which will allow you to either pass it or lock to it. So I just turned it off so I can wiggle back and forth, nothing's going on. But now if I grab this, it locks to it and gets stuck, which is pretty cool if you need it to happen, but if you're having weirdness happen there, it's probably snapping. So we're going to go ahead and click on our Fusion composition. We're going to jump into Fusion, which is this little magic wand down here. And since we have a Fusion composition, we only have a media out since it's not coming from something else. So since we're doing text here, what we're going to do is add a text node, which you can do by either clicking on this T right here or hitting Shift Space and typing text. And you'll see right here that it pops up. We're just going to use this button right here. So text, here we are. We're going to drag that to the media out, and then we're going to add some text in here. We're going to say animated, and then on a new layer, or animated text. And you'll see that we have a lot of similar options here. And what we're going to do here, because it's a pretty cool animation that's very easy to pull off, is we're going to take our text, and so that we can see this, and it's not the same color as the background, we're going to make a background node right here. And since our text was selected in here, our node, it's going to automatically merge it with the background. Now we have our text on top of a background going into a merge and then coming into our media out. So the media out is going to show all of these things together in this second viewer because this little second dot here is highlighted. If it wasn't, if we click on it or press the number 2, it goes away or comes back. If you want to isolate any of your layers, you're going to want to click on them and then press 1 and it will show up. So background is now showing up in viewer 1 and all that is black. If we want to change it, just drag around in your color over here, but we're going to keep it black and work with some white text. So now we just want our text, so we only see the text in the first viewer here. So we're going to bring it back to the beginning of the clip. We are going to go ahead and do a right on. So here we're going to create a keyframe using this little diamond, same as before, and we're going to pull this back until all of those letters are gone. And then we have a keyframe there now. So we're going to move ahead to the 10th keyframe, and then we're going to write them on until all of the letters are back. Now if we go to this first keyframe, nothing, but if we hit play, you'll see that it writes them out over time, which is a pretty awesome effect for revealing text. But if you want to do that kind of in a different way that'll give you a little bit more control of how things happen, we're going to go ahead and create a mask, a rectangle mask, on our text here. So we're going to delete these keyframes from before, get rid of that one, go back, get rid of that one, make sure that right on is all the way written on, and then we will attach our rectangle mask, and you'll be able to see everything inside of this rectangle here. So if we move that over, you'll see that our text gets removed. Move that back over. So for this, we can keyframe the center of the mask. So we're going to go ahead and come to the center here, keyframe it so that we can see everything, but we're going to drag it over so that we can see nothing. And then if we go ahead and move forward, say 10-ish frames, and move it back, it will automatically create a new keyframe for us to use. So we go back to the beginning, and you can see that moves over and exposes the text underneath. So this is a fun way to just really do anything you want with revealing your text. You could have this thing spin in, you could do all sorts of things, you could have it animate like that. So that is how you reveal with right on and how you reveal with a mask in Fusion. You can use that masking technique a whole lot of ways in Fusion. Just keyframe the position of that, reveal your text however you want, and you can also use keyframes to move your text around and keyframe your tracking now. So if we go tracking full and then we over time want to bring that in, we just go ahead and click on that dot to bring it back where it was, and then if we watch, it settles into where it belongs. So that's all we're going to cover on animating text. If you want to go more in depth about Fusion or things you can do with text in Fusion, I have videos linked in the description below that cover more of the techniques and things that you can do within Fusion to get your text going however you want it to go. So now we'll go back to our edit window, get into our timeline here, and we're going to go over some advanced techniques. But we're not really going to, it's more just a discussion of how to use text and when to use text, because a lot of the time I'll see text overused, or if you're using text on a background that's too busy, it can be really hard to read. So text is one of those things that you want to make sure that you're not overdoing it, and you want to make sure that you're not overutilizing things around the text, because if you're using text, it should be clear, quick to read, and doesn't detract from your video. Text should be like a little bit of like a little flavoring on top of your video. It shouldn't dominate it unless it's meant to. I see a lot of people accidentally overpowering their video with text. And I just want to point that out to you guys. Try to not do that unless it's what you're going for. That wraps up all the text talk that we're going to be doing. The thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about at the end of this video is the channel hitting 1,000 subs. I want to thank each and every single one of you who is subscribed for subbing, because it really does mean a lot to me, and that's a pretty huge milestone for me personally. I couldn't have got there without you guys and your support, and I love all the comments that you guys leave for me down below. I'm super grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for subscribing. To the 98% of you that watch my videos and aren't subscribed, if you could please consider subscribing, that would be awesome. I'd appreciate it. Yeah, so thanks for 1,000, and I'm looking forward for what's to come. So, that's it for this one. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.